Okay, welcome back, fellow dragons. Found out why the dog was barking. She wants to go in the garage. But she can't go in the garage right now. Because little bro could be home anywhere between 10 minutes from now and 2 hours from now. Depending on how things went at his work. In case any of you forgot about Doggo barking near the end of last week's episode. Yeah. The reason she even wants to go out in the garage in the first place is because she wants to wait for the roommate to come home because he hangs out in the garage usually right after he gets home. But the problem is he's stopped coming into the house through the front door because I've asked him to, sort of. Like, I've given him an alternate option. I gave him the garage door opener because I thought, hey, if you're on your scooter, it's easier to get in and out so you can from the garage than it is to just leave your scooter in the way in the frickin' entry. Because you can't just leave it on the porch either. So, yeah, I gave him an option to be able to come into the house via the garage easier. It's not like the garage door opener was being used anyway. But because of that, if the dog wanting to go in the garage for whatever reason to wait for him, the garage door opening, the second he gets home, she'll go out to try to greet him before he gets all the way in, get distracted by a squirrel or something, and bolt and run off down the neighborhood. And I cannot chase her with my asthma situation, so fuck that. Okay, well, no. So, trial time. Time for some objections. Alright. Ah, shit. There we go. Good morning. So, you're Vera, right? I'm Trissy. Trissy Wright. That's right with a W, but not right. Right? We're on your side. You could tell us anything, please. Good morning. She speaks? Not bad, not bad. But I think you'd do better with a little smile, you know? You're so pretty, you need to sell yourself, you know? Trucy, that's condescending as fuck. Trucy, let's take it easy for starters. That's condescending. Thank you for taking my case. Okay, well that's a start, I guess. There she goes with the nail polish again. That's great, it's so cultured. Want to try? Oh, really? Girls. It's not just a girl thing, Apollo. Anyone can wear nail polish if they want. The victim, Drew Measham, was a forger, and a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really. And maybe one that led to his death. Same as always. They couldn't have used Canadian Drudge. Well, we will now begin the trial of Vera Measham. Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy and he's looking around all nervous like, The repercussions for today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time, and may indeed alter our legal system forever. Today is a test of the jurist system, and the first step towards a new order in our courts. Daddy's secret mission. The jurists will function like a jury. It's hoped that their inclusion will help the court better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurists in the courtroom? 3 closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. Jurists have access to everything that transpires. Jurists judge well. Jurists judge well and judge cool. Now see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was going to say that. My apologies there, Judge. Jurist today, or Judge today's trial coolly, if you would be so kind. The jurists are unbound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but their feelings. And we're about to find out just what effect they're going to have. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, the details of the case, if you would. The victim is the painter Drew Measham. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned. By whom, you ask? None other than the defendant, Vera Measham. There wasn't any poison in the coffee. Someone's been doing their homework. Indeed. The poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself. The mug? Residue was found on the rim, I see. The autopsy report describes the manner of our victim's death. Court accepts this as evidence. Cool. According to this report, the victim's death was caused by atroquinine poisoning. Chemical compound that does not occur naturally. Lethal dosage is a mere 0.002 milligram. A touch of atroquinine in the body is the touch of the Reaper's scythe. Court record. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, you may present your witness. Defense, please look over that as you're... Let's see, 9 and 9:30. Okay. I have for you today a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. The journalist, no doubt. The witness will state his name and occupation. Right. Well, for starters, my name's Spark Burchell. My job is a lone observer of the world. In other words, a freelance journalist, right? If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record. Yes, Mr. Bruchel? I dislike conclusions, specifically the aspect of jumping to conclusions. Preconceptions make park sandbox of endless desert waste, end quote. But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday. Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand, I stand before you today a man with a dream. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights on this story. Scoop turns Mr. Bruchel into that Mr. Bruchel, end quote. Let's hear your testimony then, shall we? A simple case, eh, Gavin? For me, the jury's still out. I visited the studio around 9 o'clock that night to do the interview. First outsider to enter the atelier. Journalistic history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. And you know what happened next? Star falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time. That does sound like a simple case, unless you were the one who poisoned him? What? What are you saying, Judge? Need I remind you the cameras are rolling today. I felt the need to be a bit dramatic. You didn't do it, did you? Me? You don't think like that? Come on, that's like, newsmaker making news, end quote. Or even contemporary witch hunt, end quote. I know, wild accusations rock courtroom, end quote. Rock indeed. Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun. I'm so happy for him. Very well, Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please. Alright. I visited the studio around 9 p.m. that night to do the interview. Press everything. 9 o'clock that night. Isn't that a little late for an interview? If the great painter Drew Measham says come at 9 p.m., believe you me, I go at 9 p.m. First, and as it turned out, last interview was such a prolific painter. Right, can you tell us what it was like when you arrived? You were the first reporter ever in Drew's studio. Posterity will look back on that night as a turning point in journalistic history. A basically insignificant step for all mankind. But a giant step for that Bruchel guy, end quote. If no one on the outside ever had access to the studio, they would serve to reason that the deed was done by an insider. By which he means Vera did it. So, how did this epoch-making interview go? His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. Would you mind being a little more specific? Oh, let me tell you, I enjoy cuppa. In fact, it all began when I was in 3rd grade. That's not what I meant. I believe I know what Hair Forehead is driving at. This coffee the victim was served. Did anyone other than the defendant touch it? Right, that's what I was going to say, really. Well now, if you got a question to ask, you best straight up ask it. That's what I tell the new recruits several times if necessary. Right for a grade schooler, that's my motto. Which isn't to say I can only write grade school level stuff, mind you. Who touched the coffee? Ditto. I was in the back looking at the stew's equipment when she served it. And what's happened next? Jill, what happens? Star falls, end quote. What's this about a star falling? Star falls, huh? It's like an old telegraph. Send money over. Zowie, you don't know? That's like a journalist code word. Important personage passes away, a star falls. Get it? But there's no gravity in space, is there? I wouldn't think stars could really fall. There's gravity all over space. Every little rock out there exerts some amount of gravity. It's just, like every rock on this planet exerts probably its own tiny gravitational field that's just so overwhelmed by Earth's gravitational field that it no longer matters. It's like overwritten. Throw a tiny rock in space, gravity that pulls other small dust particles to it. Just so insignificant. Probably. That's just that. I'm not an astrophysicist. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I am guessing shit. But like every planet out there, at the very least, every star, every black hole, all have their own gravitational field. There's plenty of gravity in space. Does this matter? Oh boy, this is good stuff, good stuff. How about star breaks? Nah, lacks punch. And how about star dies? Nah, lacks imagination. Of course, you could go with Drew dies. Straight to the point. I like it. I think we need to hear about something more substantial. Moment of death? When Mr. Misham passed away. Oh boy, what a scene that was. Puts his coffin mug down with a crash, right? Yes, then cold finger of death touches his spine, life's flame sputters and fails. So cold was that touch that he could do naught but tremble uncontrollably. Actually, life's flame's a little tired. Life's river froze over? Yeah, that's a go. I think he's starting his article already. Could you describe that a little more simply? Well, as you can imagine, I was pretty surprised. He hit the floor, as they say. Artist's seizure is final performance, end quote. Hydroquinone paralyzes the central nervous system. Body arches back like a bow. Limbs tremble. The throat burns. That's quite enough of that. Some of us want to be able to sleep tonight. Oh yeah, well I want details. Lots of juicy details. For that you can listen to our last year's hit single. Why would you write a song about a poison, you weirdo? Hydroquinone, My Love by Gaviniers, available at all major music outlets. The point here being that the victim died of that poison. Well, Mr. Justice, how do you find the testimony? Something's off. Well, as a count of the moments of the victim's death, it's pretty important. Please add it to the testimony. Very well, court request witness add this account to the testimony. The spasms, it was definitely death by poison. Hold on. Uh-huh. It not broken, though. Hey, look, I'm a journalist. I've seen a lot of things. I've had more than my share of experience with so-called poisonings. And eats fish, goes bye-bye. Alright, well, food poisoning doesn't count. Ask about something else. Ask about coffee. Say Mr. Measham had the coffee too. Did you actually see him drink the coffee? Of course, he who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger, end quote. I have a man sees dog eat dog writes about it world. Yet? Guess I can't say I saw him drink it, really. You one so-called sip, if that. Man puts lips to mug, drinks, end quote. That poison is quite virulent, I hear. His stomach did a so-called somersault since it gulped down the coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Wait, maybe something's there. Some kind of so-called trick. Anyone want to venture a guess for the record? Does this guy have a pause button? Well, Mr. Justice. Fine, we're gonna try that. Victim drank his coffee and immediately fell over. Oh, yes, you could go to the press with that one. Vile piece of testimony. Alright, let's see. Okay. Slow acting. There we go, that's what I need. You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison use atroquinine. Oh. Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. A lethal dose of 0.002 micrograms poisons the central nervous paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile. Why are you using me as an example? Unfortunately, we weren't told everything. There was a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information. An omission? Atroquinine is as virulent as he says, but death doesn't come upon ingestion, not immediately. That's because the atroquinine is a slow-acting. Slow-acting? Well, what now? According to the one forensic scientist, it's one of the most virulent poisons, but it's absorbed into the body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time of ingestion for adverse effects to show. If we suppose that the moment Mr. Measham sipped the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then he would still have had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe. Order. What's the meaning of this? Hold on, I have to look at this mailbox again. What? Oh, right, I think I get it. If what the defense says is correct, well, that contradicts the entire testimony we've just heard. Well, Mr. Burchell, anything to say on the record? Slow acting? Slow act. It was virulent, alright. Even then, it had already begun digging its claws into the journalist. He's working on his scoop. It's Burchell, yeah? Hey, Burchell, let's take a trip back down memory lane. Huh? Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over, this is vital. You know, I think that was, not so subliminal suggestion, end quote. I admit it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. I would be forced to say, I've Peterson to my simple case. And you would be forced to say farewell to your article. Come again? You can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And as the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent. And you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye. Scoop. Scoop. Huh. Look, wait, just wait a second. Just wait a second. We're waiting out with it. I think I just recalled the so-called important detail. A revival of recollection, end quote. A story of survival, end quote. Attorney and Leon are confused, end quote. Actually, I did notice something when I visited the studio. I'd heard of poison that takes its sweet time, see? But not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently. Mr. Burchell, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened? You bet I am. The antidote for a poisonous contradiction, end quote, you might say. Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote, I might say. Figure out only after an in-depth interview. See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned the coffee. Order, order, order. As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony that Mr. Measham died the instant after he drank. Of course I'm standing by my testimony. My dream of exclusive rights to this story. Suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course he wouldn't choose a simple case, not him. Him? Phoenix Wright, who else? Chung, Herr Burchell, report for us if you would. What is it that you noticed? I'm going to keep mispronouncing that word, probably. I'm pretty sure I've been mispronouncing it this entire time. I'm assuming that I'm going to keep mispronouncing it just because I don't know. And I did not look it up. I probably should have. Oh well. This is a critical trial for the jurist of the jury system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed. When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Measham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note? A suicide note? Yes, he had this look on his face. A man's face inscrutable as a quadratic equation, end quote. Suicide, poor Mr. Measham. But that means Vera's innocent. Would someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview? Oh. Very well, you may begin your cross-examination. Press more info. Was there anyone at the studio other than Mr. Measham? Well, his daughter Vera, of course. Was anyone besides Mr. Measham and Vera present? Not a single one. Not a cat, not a rat, or even a mouse. The only person who didn't belong into that studio there was you, wasn't it, Mr. Burchell? I know what you're doing. I know your game. Attorney is a classic Ramsden phenomenon ploy, end quote. If you intend to suggest that the reporter is a suspect, I'm sure you also intend to present evidence of that, supporting that assertion, correct? In the meantime, let's move along, shall we? Seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. So he put the letter away when he saw you? Early reporter gets worm, end quote. That's my secret. Not sure I follow. It's the night of the interview. I arrived 15 minutes ahead of schedule. Handle turns, door opens, and I barge in. Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that unlawful entry, really? Mr. Measham sure seemed to think so. You should have seen him. Crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as fast as he could. I know a secret when I spot one, and that was one. Does seem significant. Well, Mr. Justice, I wonder. Does have to add to testimony. Defendants find the testimony vital. Very well, please add to the testimony. Hey, why not? My account comes free of charge. Envelope. As it just so happens, there was a single letter in a desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope. What? Prosecutor Gavin? Yes. Was a yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, no, but hair forehead. It's easy to mistake a color of an envelope. That depends. Mr. Burchell, you colorblind? I guess, but not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already 7 years ago. Well, Mr. Burchell, I can explain that. Drew, right, he wanted to get that letter in an envelope pronto. Get out of sight of my beady eyes, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed it away. And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump? Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say about the witness's claim? That night, the victim put a letter that he had been writing in a red envelope. That's impossible. Ah, I like your expression, so full of confidence. It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defense team investigated the contents of this envelope with the assistance of a forensic scientist. What? Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Measham. Oh. Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself. I've been scooped! Order, order, order. Mr. Burchell, can you explain this to the court? Oh, my, how could I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets old, forgets lots, end quote. Still waiting for explanation, Mr. Burchell. Well, that's the thing. See, after he put the letter in that envelope, Mr. Measham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. His desk drawer? Yes, a stamp. A so-called postage stamp. End quote. Stamp? Whatever for? Well, to mail his letter. What else? And then, well, yes, I think I saw him put his letter in the box. Yes, it was a yellow envelope. He put it in that box. Well, apparently this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case. Oh, I wish it did. Just think if that were a suicide note, what a story. Star writes suicide note in front of reporter fails. Front of reporter falls. End quote. As I was saying, that has nothing to do with this case. That said, yes, Your Honor? Makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. $100,000 is quite a good deal of money. So this was from 7 years ago, yeah? So am I finished here? Am I finished here? I was thinking of, going home to start writing. I hate to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that, rather unique face. Come on! Attorney has active imagination, little else, end quote. Even I noticed something in my eyes aren't what they used to be. You know, I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about. Judge his active imagination. I'm not reading any more of the end quote shit unless it's Burchell. I realize they're making fun of him, but I hate it. Because it's stupid. And he's stupid. Continue with your testimony, please. Tell us about the scent of a story. Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here, usually. Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverages story, gets his interview, end quote. Story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. So, you threatened to go to the press with the story? That's how you got your interview? Blackmail? Well, yes. I mean, no. It wasn't exactly black. I'm not, Something wrong, Mr. Burchell? Look! This is my story, my tidbit. Journalist info is livelihood, end quote. I see. Well, you have me chatting away here. What's going on out there? What if some Wally Wordsworth or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be going to press. Well, I'm going to waste. Court feels your pain, Mr. Burchell. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace. Certain case 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago. Press everything. The victim, Drew Measham, had a aversion to reporters. Boy, I guess not even my considerable charms did it for him. Until I finally got my thumbs up, that is. Maybe you can elaborate on that bit for us. Exactly what sort of story was this? Oh, a little one, like I said. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing in between. End quote. Might I suggest a lead on this particular story? I didn't threaten or cajole or nothing honest. So a suggestion was enough to get an interview. Mr. Measham must have really wanted to keep it under wraps. Story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. A certain case? 7 years ago? Tell us what case. Let me state one thing, Mr. Attorney, and you can quote me on this. I can't talk about that case. Why not? It's about journalistic pride and staunchness and credibility and connections. Journalist reveals sources only over his dead body, end quote. So what'll it be? Gonna strangle me? Dead men don't tell tales? Our chances of breaking his will aren't looking good. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. On the one hand, we have your story. On the other hand, we have this letter. What makes you think the two are related? Oh, I was just saying it's possible. Call it reporter's intuition, end quote. Hey, I say a lot of things. You gotta pick all of them apart? Be my guest. All of them? No, just the incredibly suspicious ones. I see. Anything else to add about Mr. Measham? Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. Just how amazing was Mr. Measham's talent? Huh? Hooey boy, I mean, hey, he's a star, man, a star. The flow of his brush is like a great undulating river across the canvas. Artist paints light up studio like sun, end quote. This guy's full of wacky gestures. But that one just now was wackier than usual. Looks kind of nervous to me, Apollo. Definitely, I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what. That testimony left a bad taste in my mouth. It all makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous. Or if what this story is talking about is, must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that. Something powerful enough to drag Drew Measham out of hiding. Wonder, maybe it had something to do with Mr. Measham's art? Something's... Here again. Okay, let's see. One more time. Okay. Gotta be something. Here again, I'm trying to guess eyes. Okay, here again. Nope. Okay. Okay, something sus. If big, no. Okay. Okay. I feel like it's here. The real question is where... I don't know where his... Okay. Okay. Wait a minute. Counterfeiting? Nope. Okay, well. Maybe, the stolen painting? Nope. Nope. Okay, well. In that case, nope. Okay, well. Press again. Tell us about the case. Refuses to talk. Shit. I mean, the perceived thing is an option at all, so... But nothing's showing up, so... Nope. Okay, well... I'm out. I'm lost. Nope, wrong thing. No, wrong. Ugh. I keep pressing the wrong button. Nope. Well, might as well roll back to the autosave. Because I don't remember. Yep. Yep, roll back to the autosave. Well, that's enough. No need to prolong the trial. Insufficient. Skipping over the jury's roll, straight to guilty. My stomach needs to shut up. Retry from scene. I don't remember any of this. Okay, well. And rice is done. Not that I have anything to go with it. Okay, and press everything again. Okay, press again. Okay, well. Hmm. 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 I don't remember fellow dragons. There's nothing to perceive. Unless it's his fucking elbow. Like, there's nothing to perceive until I press him. Maybe it's his nose. Maybe he flares his nostrils and I haven't noticed until now. Wait. One more time. Shit, no, I didn't mean to press that. I was... Yep. I messed up and did not mean to press that. Yeah. Okay, it might not be this one. Okay, I need to not press the wrong button this time. Gonna see if his nose flares. Nope, nothing. Gotta look. This is frustrating. I'm gonna have to edit this part out. At least nose-wise, there's nothing. Okay. Didn't really look at his eyebrows. I don't know. I don't know, fellow dragons. I don't remember. Gonna try to work backwards from this, because I know a few things. Cause like he's not. It's... Okay, so I remember that the one doing the counterfeiting. I don't remember the answer. I don't remember. Okay, look for any Twitch, then gotta...
What's up, bitches?
The dog has missed you. She's wanted to go in the garage so bad because she thought you were out there. I let her look. She wanted to walk around and I'm like, nah, he could be home any minute.
She thought I was home already.
Yeah?
She was wrong.
Alright, let's see. Alright, still don't know. Fellow dragons, I still don't know. Alright, let's see. Eyebrows this time.
Let me feed her real quick.
Okay. Ah.
I almost did something stupid before I came home.
Is the something stupid something that the fellow dragons could potentially hear?
Yes.
Okay, then what was the something stupid?
I was gonna just sleep in the store.
That is indeed stupid. I'm glad you came home. The dog would have been very upset.
Dog would have understood.
No, she wouldn't. She'd be like, he left from the house and did not come home yet. Where is my human? There's... Like, it's lit up, so it's gotta be this, right? And, like, it might not be... Let's see, it's not the brush. Maybe his mouth. No. Like, it's something. It's in one of these. Alright, time to save, scum. Yeah, not available in that mode even if I wanted to use a hint to remind myself. I've pressed everything already. Gonna press it again. Okay, so it's not... Okay, so it sent me back to before I pressed everything, so I might have to press things twice. Whatever the thing is, I might have to press it twice after having pressed everything. Okay, I've already pressed this again, but we're going through again. Yep. Yep, uh-huh. You won't talk about it. Uh-huh. Press that again. Yep, just... Ah. There we go. What's the thing? Okay, I'm gonna look at this. Let's see. Huh. Weird. Okay, I've already done things. I'm gonna try this just to... Nope. Okay, well... Nothing to see there. I don't remember fellow dragons. Okay, well... Give me a moment. I'm not playing around with this. This is... I'm in... Okay, fellow dragons. I pulled up a walkthrough and reminded myself, wow, what I needed to be looking for. Whoa, my mouse fell. Hold on, problems. Well, and now that is not a thing. And the mouse actually has nothing to do with that. The controller fell on the cat. Okay, good. It's still recording. Good. Okay. Okay, which one is it? Okay. I know. Up. Okay. I was right about where I needed to do the thing. Yep. There we go. There we go. He's sweating. I knew there was something I was missing. Sweat much, Mr. Burchell? Yeah, well, a man can't help his glands, you know? It's more than that. When Mr. Misham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets. You're hiding something about his talent. What? That's ridiculous. Every time. Let's show where Mr. Misham's true talent lies. Just so happens I have evidence showing the talents mentioned in that letter. Yep, one of the paintings. I can't help but wonder what the court is supposed to conclude from the evidence. Oh, other than that you made a horrible mistake. Okay. Okay, well, shit. Let's try again. Gotta reveal what he was. Okay. Oh, yeah, the real painting, right? Take that. This painting was found in Mr. Misham's studio. There are two problems with this painting. The first, it wasn't painted by Mr. Misham. The second is that there's another painting in the studio, which looked exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries. Oh, goof. That's all, Your Honor. Everyone, please, everyone. Can we keep this private, please? This is my story. My scoop. Forgery, that's a serious crime. Drew Measham's known as an artist these days, but there were rumors he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back. Another art meaning forgery? Drew Measham was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. The fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover. Criminal elements? What? You can't seriously be talking about... Exactly, I'm talking about forging evidence. Rumors started circulating 7 years ago. 7 years ago? So are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for... Exactly. Forged evidence nets tidy profit, end quote. Order, order, order. Why, it's like our victim was living a double life. Aha, this is my chance. So the victim had ties to the criminal world, right? He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about. This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we connected our investigation. But how do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's the possibility of some illegal activity here. But there's no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned the mug that night. And you, of course. Hey, hey, hey! The only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews. Mr. Burchell, your testimony at this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well to your reporting acumen. What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid could stand on an elephant. You could stand an elephant on it, end quote. In any case, let's hear a summarized recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation that in the studio for that recap, this trial is over. Apollo, what's he talking about? The cross-examination showed Mr. Purcell didn't have a reason or means to poison him. As long as there's no other suspects, then the killer that had to be Vera, that's what. This next testimony is our last chance. Mr. Purcell, your testimony, please. Oh, boy. The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who forwarded the coffee. She's admitted as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. Nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Clearly, the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. Nice testimony. Clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Ah, shucks. You really think so? I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your final cross-examination. Right. Still have one trump card left to play, and I won't let this trial end until I use it. Okay, well, press everything for now. But that doesn't prove Vera poisoned it. How many times have we heard that one hair forehead? The poison reached its victim via that coffee mug. And from where did that coffee come? Not to be a dead horse again and again, but perhaps you could fill us in. I'm on it. You need a horse beat? I'm your man. As Vera poured the coffee, she made as much herself. Press everything just because I need to stall for time while I think. And you witnessed her pouring the coffee? Of course I did, and I didn't witness it. Of course I didn't witness it when she came in with that tray. Coffee was already poured, steaming. Let's not forget the defendant has already admitted to pouring the coffee herself. Whew. I heard her statement. I poured, I served, and I killed. What? That last part was just a little joke. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere with this coffee mug. I need to find another weak spot in this case. Anything that touches lips during the interview is that mug. Anything else? You're sure about that? Well, to be really, really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time. Apollo, you dumbass. I'm not even reading that line. Yeah, at the time the autopsy, no fresh and no mint residue was found. Yeah. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. I think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee. Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof, possibility is there. I can feel it, just maybe not prove it yet. And possibility isn't going to cut it. Not now. Not yet. It can't be proven. I do believe our little forehead is growing up. Pity we have liked the rash youth. We liked the rash youthful forehead best. Another hole in this case that needs plugged before I can prove anything. First things first, uncover a weak spot before I try to strike again. Not one thing, you sure? Yep, sure as could be. Well, with one exception. One exception, what? Journalist Spark Burchell does interview, leave studio, end quote. Ah, come on, it's a joke. Get it? Not funny, I know, but still. Did something leave that studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before? Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn to our defense attorney before referring. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night? I think a letter? I think one thing might well have been left the studio that night, actually. Certain something that has vanished from the crime scene. By which you mean something other than our witness? Of course. Don't tell me, Vera Measham. Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. Then let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows that it could have been taken from the scene. I found Prospero Gavin more amusing than this guy, really. If that was comic relief, why do I not feel amused? You want evidence, not entertainment. Oh man, I messed up. Okay, so... mailbox. Right. This is the only link between that studio and the outside world. A letterbox? What did Mr. Burchell just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter. Yeah, I said that, and yeah, it was true. Furthermore, you went on to tell us that you put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox. Ah! But that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night the yellow envelope disappeared. Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh? He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out is how the poison got into Mr. Measham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw... Is it really that important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. Seems very important to me. Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony. I still think it fails to change anything, hair forehead. I wouldn't be so sure. A letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is the exact opening I've been looking for. Is it though? Press. Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. And you were hiding that fact from us. Yeah, well, actually... I don't argue the possibility that a letter disappeared from that studio, but therefore, isn't there a much more serious question before us? Right. How Mr. Measham was poisoned, I know, but Mr. Burchell's testimony has changed, which means the facts of the case have too. And what he's told us means something entirely different now, I'm starting to think. Let's keep thinking. Press. You say clearly as though it were obvious. But this is a claim that the defendant poisoned, the victim is merely conjecture. Ah, yes, well, you see, in my business, it's all about making the most ridiculous things sound right. Bad habit, I know. Yes, well, actually, I guess this is more of a case of ridiculous journalist sounds wrong, end quote. Of course, forced to agree with you, please refrain from wild conjecture. Understood loud and clear. If only I could believe that. What do you think? That's... Okay. Okay. Nope, okay. Okay, so he didn't lick the mailbox. I assume that's what... Okay, Press. You sure about that? Nope, we're not doing the candies again. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, this is gonna immediately mess me up. I'm gonna have to restart this section if I, fail. Do you understand what we need, yeah? Proof, Hair Forehead, not possibilities. Of course, and Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. What did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope. I saw him writing a letter, I did. Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume. Of course, which means that the envelope had a stamp on it. A stamp? Ah! We all know stamps come with dry glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it by licking the stamp. No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age. Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all. Okay, so he licked the stamp, but wait. How does that explain the atropine on the rim of the coffee mug? If he licked the back of a poisoned stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth, Ah. Traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing, it was the other way around. What? Coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Measham. Mr. Measham poisoned that coffee mug himself. Order. But that doesn't... Does it? Recall, if you would, atropine is a slow-acting poison, yes? Poison entered his body when he put the stamp on the envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe. Ooh, this is good stuff here. Wait! You have something to add, Mr. Burchell? Uh-oh, his nose is picking up another scent. I believe I mentioned earlier. Well, that's the thing, see, after he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Measham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. Yes, a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he just run out? Incidentally, we searched his desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps, not a single one. That does pose a problem. How will you prove the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. Makes proving the stamp used was poison possible. Good show. Can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place. Well, let's hear what the defense has to say. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this postage stamp? There we go. Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. And by little, I mean really little. It was on the victim's desk, Your Honor. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection, so what? Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been? You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yes, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Atroquinine residue? What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square. The face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe 1 inch wide at most. You aren't saying... Oh, but I am. Tell me what fits in such a small frame. A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order. The poison stamp was in this frame? Impossible. Prosecutor Gavin? Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me there, so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. Can I say something? I had a thought. See... What, Mr. Burchell? Please stop jittering about like that. The victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges, friends, makes enemies too, end quote. So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him. Oh, Rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the Gavinier song lyrics, please. Finally, something we agree on. Stamp was a murder weapon! Nonsense. Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Come again. Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew Measham hid away from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. The mail? Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but knew he read letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon. Ridiculous. Where's your proof? I want proof. Show us evidence that the poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. Might not have evidence per se, but things are finally starting to come together. Abby, get away from the cords! You're gonna unplug something! Stop it! Get away from there! Hey! Fellow dragons, I have a problem. Give me a moment. Oi! You! K9! Get away from there! Fucking... You almost got tangled in the cords and unplugged all the things. That would have been bad. Don't unplug my capture card. Alright, things are finally starting to come together. What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling. I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Measham was killed. Well, listen, Mr. Justice, a certain piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honor. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent the stamp to Mr. Measham. Isn't this the envelope, the one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honor? Ah. In other words, if I have this straight. The stamp poisoned. On the stamp, lick lick gasp. End quote. Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter had asked? He would sign the documents, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox. 15 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between fixing the stamp and mailing the letter. But the clock started ticking when the time came he drew his last breath. And the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently thanks to the postal system. The problem of it being 7 years ago. Such a splendid imagination you have, Hair Forehead. Let's confirm one thing, with you, if I might. So this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago, yeah? Is that what you would have us believe, really? Well... It's a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility. Yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? A poison stamp in the envelope, a stamp then became the murder weapon. How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence? Well? It was 7 years ago. We don't even know who sent that letter. And your answer is silence. I see. Very well. I move to... No. Okay. I have a choice to make here. But why would he be there? Yep, choice make. It's not nice to pick on the Fraulein, Clavier. Okay, right choice. Emma? Well, like my Christoph Gavin impression, do I sound like him? Don't quit your day job. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Fraulein Detective? And don't fucking impersonate my brother like that. I will kick your ass. And I have things to check, cause like that would've shoved up. Okay. Someone had to come dig you all out of the mess you're making of this case. Mess? You know, none of this would happen if you just trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in that envelope easy. Care to explain yourself, Fraulein Detective? Glare at me all you want, but science is on my side. It's all in the residue, right? That's right, the poison detection spray. Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Up. Whoa, would you look at that? No mistaking it. That's atroquinine residue. I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past? Now 7 years later it bears its fangs at last? Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't the murder take place 7 years ago? Well, there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Measham figured it out? Figured what out? He realized the person who sent the letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp? And put his decisive evidence in a frame. You're still here? Can I make a statement here on the record? I, Spark, Razortooth Brachel, claim this scoop as mine. Drew Measham killed in cold blood by a sender of 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more succinct. Star falls after 7-year delay, end quote. Order, order, order. I see no room for further argument here, though I admit this is all coming as quite a shock. To think the murderer weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket straight to afterlife, end quote. Uh-oh. I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge. It's a bad influence on everyone in this game. I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant. Apollo? I think we just won. Very well, this court defines the defendant. Too soon. Too early in this case. Pretty sure this one's the full 3-day one. Is this the bright future of our legal system? Prosecutor Gavin? Tickets to the afterlife from 7 years ago? Tickets for the Gavinier shows are invalid after 2 weeks. But it doesn't make sense any other way. Boggles the mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction in Airforehead's claim. A contradiction? Poison stamp was placed in the envelope 7 years ago. whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Measham have done what he did? Emma explained that. Emma explained that. He must have realized it was poison. Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Measham sensed a trap and put the stamp in a frame. I do not debate this, but it begs the question, why 7 years later did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Ah, surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Measham simply forgot. I mean, might have been a really nice stamp. Put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years and forgot? You expect us to believe he sprang the trap on himself? Ugh. While I admit this is all quite shocking myself, it does seem highly unlikely that he would fall afoul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years. Apollo? I don't think we're winning anymore. I'm glad to see we're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. I've been waiting for you. Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope? The poison stamp? Where exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to the court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed. What about the atroquinine residue, huh? Oh, I agree. That does seem to be atroquinine residue, but, hair, forehead. It's certainly no stamp. Ugh, yeah, but even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Drew Measham would have never used it. That is all. Ugh. Unless he didn't know about the poison. I believe we've come to a conclusion again. Apollo, were we wrong the whole time? I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be coincidence. I'd like to bring some closure to this issue sometime this year. Mr. Justice? Yes, Your Honor? Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Measham received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atroquinine on the document inside that envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene, on this tiny picture frame. Defense has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with the poison stamp on it. Yes, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and Drew Measham, knowing this, put it in a frame, he never would have used that stamp. I'm afraid you're right, which means there is a fatal flaw in the defense's case. I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time, I'm sure of it. The traces of atroquinine, the envelope, the frame, and Mr. Measham's mysterious death, they're all connected somehow. Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion somehow? The defense stands by its case, Your Honor. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense. Which means that one of our clues must be a fake. Ah, a fake clue. Fascinating. If we find this fake, your wild fantasies will be quite reasonable, yeah? The fake clue that's thrown us all off the poison trail is none other than the victim himself. The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame, and a mug, all linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself. Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, The forger. Makes a good story, I'll give you that. Fake clue, fakes, forgeries. Ah. I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again? 7 years ago, our forger sniffed a trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why? That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake. Here we are again. The victim was a fake. One forger smelled the trap. One forger fell into the trap. That's 2 forgers, and one of them was a fake. Order, order, order! So you're telling us that Drew Measham, the victim, was a fake? Well, if he was the fake, who's the real forger? You better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story, Mr. Justice. Show us just who the real Drew Measham was. If Drew Measham wasn't the real forger, there's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honor. Forger Drew Measham himself was a forgery. The real forger was... There can only be one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Measham is none other than his own daughter, Vera Measham. Order, order, order! Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb even for you. I kinda agree. I mean, Vera, a forger? Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually, that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were ever found in the forger's studio. Drew Measham's and Vera Measham's. If we know that Drew Measham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by process of elimination. The forger was Vera Measham. Well... fascinating. No, Clavier, what's fascinating is where the music is coming from with your air guitar. I see no real guitar there, yet the game played sound effect. I've got foot pedals under this desk. Keep up, people. I thought I said this several cases ago. Or at least I made that joke for him several cases ago. Vera Measham? You've been paying attention to the trial so far. Let's just ask her and be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger Drew Measham? What was that? An expression of emotion I saw on her face? That reminds me, how old is she? Oh, she's 19. She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face. I'm used to being stared at by Fraulines, believe me. Though they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those works of art? Yes. So, the forger, Drew Measham, was you? Yes, it was me. What? What? The court was in an uproar and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. Okay. This trial? I remember it being very long, so we're actually gonna stop the episode here. Especially since I'm gonna have to edit out the part where I... Yeah, nah, we're leaving it in. I paused while I looked up the walkthrough for that one stupid part that I couldn't figure out. I think I remember now. I had to look that up when I was playing the first time, back in 2013. Oh boy. Yeah. But that's gonna do it for this episode, fellow dragons. I am tired. See you next time. We'll continue this. We'll continue this trial again next time. Bye, fellow dragons.